And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I really like Champions of Midgard. I am so pleased that there are expansions for the game now. There are two of them, the Dark Mountains, which I'm doing in another review. You can check out that one. Today we're talking about Valhalla. This is the better of the two expansions. This is the one I like more, but they're both great expansions. But this one adds death, a glorious death, essentially, which is a big part of Viking battles. We've seen it in Blood Rage and stuff, which is a very different game than Champions of Midgard, but it's nice to see it in this game too. It also adds more dice, more dice. How can you go wrong? Well, let's show you what's in this expansion. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on. Now let's talk about Valhalla first. Now, first of all, I want to mention that there are two new types of dice in the game. Well, there's three, but we'll talk about two first. You have these gentlemen here. These guys have attack, but they also have attack and defense. These are shield warrior dice. So if you roll this, you get a shield and an attack. And then you have berserker dice, which have only one blank side, which makes them better than the axemen. And they're great. There's twos on three of the sides too. The problem is, if anything dies in combat, these guys must die first. Well, how do you get these guys? Well, there's a couple ways. There's a new building, which I really like, called the Trainer. This lets you change any two dice into any other two dice. Okay, that's fine. But also, in this game now, whenever your dice dies, so let's say I'm in a combat and two of my dice die. So the black and the pink, they die. I will get a black and a pink token here. These tokens come to a player whenever any of your stuff dies or is lost for any reason. These green tokens are if you're using the dice from the Dark Mountains expansion. So you're going to get these and you're going to keep them. Now, in front of the player, you have your board, and next to it you have a new board that comes with this expansion where these tokens can be placed. After you fight in a combat, you can spend tokens. You can always spend 2 tokens for a glory, or you can spend any 3 tokens to take any die of your choice, which is a great way to get the pink and yellow dice. Or you can spend tokens to take these cards here. There are epic monsters at the top of the board. There's a pile of epic monsters that are going to show up. You only have so many per game. So in a 2 or 3 player game, 2. In a 4 player game, 3. And if you get the right combination here, any 2, plus a spearman, 2 regular warriors, and the shield warrior, if they all die, you can turn these in for 9 points, and at the end of the game, these cards will score double for you. So these cards are extremely powerful, but you have to have a lot of troops die to be able to use them. You can also get these cards, which will give you bonus. This one here, for example, gives me points. This is points equal to whatever round. So the later the game I get this, the better it is. And then when I'm fighting trolls, one shield blocks all damage. Well, that's a great thing, a Troll Slayer's shield. This one here gives me my leader die back, and we'll talk about that in a second, and 2 glory tokens. This one gives me my leader die back, and then 2 of the shield warriors. So these cards also, and these cards will refresh, the big enemies will not. So that's kind of the main focus of this game. But another focus are leader dice. Before I talk about leaders, we have 2 new characters. Thyra can trade 2 for a die instead of 3. It's a powerful special ability. And this guy can change 1 resource for any other resource on his turn. Now, you're going to put these characters in front of you. You get your Valhalla thing. And then each character now, also, you'll hunt for it. So here's Thyra Valkyrie Born. We'll put this thing down here, and you get a leader die. Now, a leader die can be sent into combat anytime you want. Your leader die can die. You don't have, try your best not to let it die. But if it dies, you can use these cards to get it back. This brings your leader die back. But your leader die, also, when you roll the horns, you get a special ability. So, for example, hers is gain a token of your choice from the supply. And so there's all sorts of different abilities on these. So, for example, Aura the Berserker here adds a pink die to this combat round and rolled immediately. So he calls in a Berserker instead. This guy here, replace any die with another die of your choice. This guy here gives you a glory point, battle prayer. Change the result of a white die to a result of your choice. And so this basically adds another special ability to all the characters in the base game, this expansion, and the other expansion, the Dark Mountains. So this is an extra thing in the game. Other than that, that's pretty much everything that's in this. You also have some more cards that will be added to the different piles that refer to this expansion, and that's what's included here. Fantastic. I was never quite sure if the original characters were balanced. Felt like some were a little better than others. This game fixes that because it gives them each a secondary ability, and now the ones who I thought may be a little bit weaker have really good secondary abilities. Those leader dice are great. Do you want to stick a leader in a game? A leader die in a battle? You can, but you might be afraid to lose it. But I mean, you need to use it at some point. It just gives you extra dice to start with. The leader dice with their special ability, fantastic. My favorite part of the game. But my other favorite part of the game, because they're all my favorite parts, the extra dice. That's also a neat thing that's added to the game. Having a variety of dice is a great thing. I mean, now I'm sitting there going, do I want black, red, white, pink, yellow, or if you have the other expansion, green. There's something about variety. These are not that complex. They're all the same. You look at the symbols that are rolled on them. These extra dice are great because they bypass a lot of the monsters. These monsters, spearmen don't work against them. Yeah, well, bring on the berserkers. So I really like that those guys are there. And having more dice and having that leader die going into battle just makes the whole thing more combat heavy, which is something that, I liked about the game, getting more dice. But the Valhalla chips themselves, what a great addition to the game. Absolutely fantastic. I really enjoy having a chance to, when people die, I would even let guys die on purpose sometimes. Getting those big monsters, that's a lot of points. But you have to get there by letting a lot of people die. What a cool concept. Or having people die and getting better warriors, or getting other cards, or getting special abilities. This concept itself just is so great, because if you play Champions of Midgard, every once in a while, you'll roll poorly and a monster will just decimate your troops. And it's like, oh, okay, I got to go build up more troops and come back and fight into more monsters. And that's fine, but that could cost you the game if you're just having a hard time recovering from that. Here, it's bad to still lose your guys, but suddenly you have these chips and you can do things with these chips. And yes, you turn that loss, you still would have probably preferred to have won, but you turn that loss into something else. Really enjoyable. So between the special abilities, the extra dice, and those Valhalla chips, man, I love this. This is, for me, it is a must-get expansion for this game. This is easily my favorite of the two expansions, but also I think that this is like must play with. If I'm teaching new people the game, I'll teach them this. It isn't that much more complex adding. Your guys die, you get these chips, and then you turn in these chips for other things. It does add a little bit more table space, more things on the board, but overall, absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend it. Valhalla. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!